Okay. All right. Once again, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Center for Equitable Higher Education's Student Participatory Action Research and Knowledge Program presentation. We're delighted to have you all with us today as we celebrate the power of student-led research, reflection, and action to address basic needs and advance student success across the California State University system. Today's webinar will feature two outstanding research projects conducted by Spark teams from Fresno State and CSU East Bay. Over the next hour, you'll hear directly from student researchers about the questions that inspired their studies, the methods they used, the key findings they uncovered, and the recommendations they developed to strengthen basic needs support for students. These projects highlight the valuable insights students bring as researchers and change makers, and we look forward to exploring how their findings can inform meaningful action on our campuses and beyond. A few housekeeping notes. This session is being recorded and will be shared after the close of the meeting. Please stay muted unless you are speaking, and we welcome you to use the chat to share comments throughout the presentation, but we do ask that you hold your questions for the Q&A session at the end. And I added a slide that has where they're at. All right, so this morning's agenda, we will start off with brief introductions of the CEHE team, a little bit about the Spark program background, and we will have our Fresno State and CSU East Bay presentations, followed by a Q&A session and our closing remarks. We'd like to first shout out our Spark funders, which include the RNS, Kane Foundation, along with ECMC Foundation. Before we dive into today's presentation, I'd like to introduce the team at CEHE. We have Dr. Rashida Crutchfield, who is the Executive Director, Yadira Maldonado, Associate Director, Jessica Wallen, Spark Faculty Consultant, and myself, Kenny McClone, Spark Coordinator. With that, I will transfer it to Dr. Crutchfield.
Thank you so much, Kenya. It's so thrilling to be here with all of you to hear from these amazing students. The Center for Equitable Higher Education, or CEHE, as we lovingly call it, is a research center located at Long Beach State, but serving all of California and beyond with a mission to be a trusted source of actionable research to inform and engage policy and practice to ensure that students across public higher education get their basic needs met. The Spark program really exemplifies the very best of what CEHE brings in our values of amplifying the voices of students as experts of their experience, while they themselves build evidence to inform policy and practice, to support practitioners, policymakers, and other leaders across the state and the nation. And I'm happy to bring in Yadira, who is our second in command at CEHE. Yadira.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Crutchfield. I am Yadira Maldonado. I am the Associate Director of CEHE. We are so excited to be here today to celebrate another incredible year of Spark, a program created and developed with CEHE's vision and mission at its core. And so at CEHE, our goal is to keep pushing the basic needs movement forward through actionable research that drives change at every level of higher education. And at the center of that work are our students, right? Their experiences, their insights, and their voices. So Spark is one of CEHE's core programs specifically dedicated to student-led research. Now, in its second year, Spark was built on a simple but very powerful belief that meaningful change in higher education starts with centering the perspectives of the students who live and breathe these issues every single day. And so by placing students in the role of researchers, Spark creates a space for them to shape advocacy, to influence policy, and drive institutional change. So essentially, Spark brings together teams of students and their faculty or community-based organization mentors, and together with CEHE support, they engage in three core program activities. And so through skills, students build their capacity as researchers. And this year, we actually expanded our trainings through new collaborations with California Competes, the Youth Leadership Institute, or YLI, our current Spark partner, and the Cal State Student Association, or CSSA. And these organizations all helped bridge the understanding of research and advocacy. CEHE's own amazing graduate student researchers who are in this space today also brought their own expertise and facilitated a qualitative data training to our Spark students. And YLI led a very powerful power mapping session to help students strategically communicate their research for impact. And through inquiry, each team designs and leads an original part project, which we'll see today. Students are engaged and lead every phase of this process. And lastly, action. Students translate their findings into policy and practice recommendations. So Spark is more than a research experience. It's a pathway, right? One that builds skills, leadership, it deepens professional and personal networks, and creates real opportunity for students. And so what you'll hear today represents months of dedicated work from our amazing students who showed up, asked hard questions, and pushed through every stage of this process while also navigating their own lives as college students. So this year we had the privilege of partnering with the Youth Leadership Institute, Fresno State, and CSU East Bay. And with that, I will hand it over to Kenya to welcome our amazing Spark teams.
Thank you, Yadira. All right. I'd like to introduce our amazing Spark team at Fresno State. They will be presenting their projects on exploring the gap between undocumented students and accessing basic needs, okay? I'd like to start off with introducing Luz Toribio, Hermione Arias, Jana Boqueo, Diego Ortega, Emily Barajas, and last but not least, Gurleen Kaur, okay? And from our YLI team, I'd like to introduce our mentors, Johnson Del Rosario, Daniel Gonzalez, Cindy Hernandez, and Dr. Amber Crowell. I'll pass it over to you, Johnson.
Daniel will actually be the one sharing.
Good morning. Our project is access to basic needs for undocumented students at Fresno State. We would like to thank CEHE for the opportunity. My name is Hermione, followed by Jana, Luz, Diego, Emily, Gurleen, our CBO faculty from YLI, Johnson, Daniel, Cindy, and our Fresno State faculty, Dr. Crowell. In this research, we will focus on the main table of contents that include our research background, our methodology, findings, opportunities for action, and lastly, our conclusion. To begin with our research statement, basic needs are difficult to afford for CSU students, and undocumented students face additional challenges because of barriers to work and access to service and programs. Basic needs include food, housing, transportation, mental health support, and utilities. Campuses offer services to undocumented students, but these programs may be at risk in the current political climate, and undocumented students do not always use these services because of fear and stigma. We seek to understand the effectiveness of campus services, programs, and policies that address undocumented student basic needs and identify what can be learned from other institutions. Our three research questions are: what basic need barriers are undocumented students at Fresno State currently experiencing? How effective are existing campus services, programs, and policies in addressing these needs? What gaps exist between institutional support and student need?
Thank you, Hermione. And so, why is this research important? Well, it is evident that undocumented and AB 540 students are facing barriers to basic human needs. And it seems that our institution is not designed to address this issue. Even our research findings show that 86% of these students said that their struggles with basic needs have affected their education. In Fresno State, we have the Dream Success Center, a program that provides support for immigrant and undocumented students. And it is unfair that a lot of the weight and responsibility in helping a large population of struggling students have been concentrated into this one under-researched office, while many of the other resources at Fresno State have been structurally hard to reach. And we know that our institution has the ability to help these students, but without putting in the effort to build trust and support in this community, then the existing resources at Fresno State will continue to be unused. And so moving on to methodology, we utilized the mixed method study design where we conducted surveys and focus groups to run our research. And we also did background interviews with campus centers to hear the perspective of the staff who provides resources on campus to really give our research a holistic view of the issue. And we invited undocumented students or AB 540 students specifically at Fresno State to participate. And we recruited students by sending emails to various organizations and centers rather than posting flyers across campus so that we can ensure their safety and their anonymity. And so for instruments, we utilized Qualtrics and also ran our focus groups through Zoom and in person to make it more accessible. And to analyze, we used Google Sheet for descriptive statistics and our focus groups for thematic analysis. And I'll move the mic to Luz.
Thank you, Jana. And on our chart, we have for the survey, we had 22 respondents who did the full survey. And in the chart, we had the highest number of first-generation college students, which mentioning that they have used their own personal card for transportation and also have a senior status in their education journey. Along with that, students mentioned there are unemployed, and also a high number of participants mentioned living with their parents and other family members, and also consider themselves low income. And so those were the participants who answered the survey. And I'll pass it to Diego and Emily for findings.
All right, thank you, Luz. So for our core findings, what we found was from both of our surveys and focus group, there were 4 major themes that appeared. The first was financial insecurity. Students described low and unstable income, difficulty paying for basic needs, and having to prioritize work over academics. The second theme was awareness and access. Many students were unaware of available resources or unaware where to go for support. The third theme was fear and safety. Students shared concerns related to immigration status, confidentiality, and the current political climate. Finally, students identified several unmet needs, particularly transportation, food, housing, mental health services, career development opportunities, and immigration legal support. As well, what these findings highlight for us is that the access to these services is vital for the growth of our student population. Some of the barriers as well place students in a position where they have to pick and choose between a meal, homework, or getting some form of help. If we all want students to succeed academically, we need to change things drastically for the benefit of our underrepresented student population. And now I will hand it over to Emily.
Thank you, Diego. So going over the data points. So looking at the survey results, one of the findings that stood out the most was that 86% of the respondents reporting that basic needs challenges affected their academic success. This suggests that basic needs are not separate from education, but that they are directly connected to students' ability to persist and succeed. We also saw that financial pressures students face, with 50% reporting they had taken a break from school to earn income, 41% reporting they sometimes or often didn't have enough food. The data also highlighted concerns about safety and support. Only 36 of the respondents felt very safe accessing the campus services, and 41% felt Fresno State is not doing enough to protect undocumented students. Half of the respondents had never heard of the Center for Essential Needs, and students also stated that they were most likely to learn about support offered through personal connections, such as advisors, counselors, professors, peers, and social media. The Dream Success Center was consistently identified as the most trusted and used resources. These findings point to a larger issue. The support is not just about having resources available, but making sure students know about them, trust them, and feel safe accessing them. And then I'll pass it back to Liz.
Yeah, thank you. And before we move into recommendations, I want to take a moment to let the students speak directly, because what they shared in our focus group is what makes this data real. And so one of the themes was fear, and we heard about our students about their concerns, but as something actively shaping how students show up on campus. And the student mentions, I think it just depends on the political climate with deportations and everything going on in the community. I made sure my classes were online and I dropped the classes I had in person. If it was seeking assistance or making appointments in person, I was hesitant to even seek that support just because I was afraid of everything going on. So I think the political change climate really plays a factor into what kind of assistance I'm seeking, and I'm doing it on campus, and if I'm doing it on campus. And then another theme that was across the focus groups was financial insecurity. Participants mentioned, one of them mentioned, I had to take a break for one semester and go back home to work in the fields to kind of get that financial need met again to come back. Another participant mentioned, I had to have 2 jobs or side gigs, which usually means that I have less time to do homework, and it has affected me. I know for sure this semester. Another theme that was shared across was campus services experiences. And they shared what it feels like to try to find help on campus. A student mentioned there's resources, but you have to go out of your way. You have to dig in to find it. And I feel like as being undocumented, it's also kind of like, would they help me? Do I qualify for this? Another sentiment was that the Dream Success Center was their main point of contact for services. And a student mentions the Dream Success Center is my first to-go place. From there, they help direct me to all the other departments of support services on campus. These are not students who are disengaged in their education. These are students making rational decisions in a system that was not designed to support them. This is the reality our data reflects, and this is why our recommendations are not optional. They are urgent. So moving to our recommendations, we made it, falls into 3 areas: state policy, campus programs, and direct services. Every single one of them comes directly from what students told us they needed, but I'll be focusing on state policy levels. We are calling for continue to support and increase funding for the Dream Success Center, the Student Cohort, and the Essential Needs Center. We also want to highlight 2 specific pieces of legislation: the Senate Bill 98, which is also known as the SAFE Act, which requires campuses to issue alerts when immigration enforcement is present and protects students' ability to retain financial aid and enrollment if detained. And AB 713, which is also known as Opportunity for All, which would allow undocumented students to work on CSU campuses without needing federal work authorization. And we also want to name College Core specifically, as it was also mentioned throughout the focus groups, as a state service program. This is the only program that explicitly serves AB 540 students with paid opportunities that don't require work authorization. And this program must be protected. Our findings are not a description of students' failure. They are a map of institutional gaps, and we believe Fresno State has everything it needs to start closing them, along with our state. What we leave you with is not just data, but a reminder of students' lives at stake. And I'll pass it to Gurleen. I believe she can't join us now, but I'll step in. And our conclusion is that these findings are a beginning, not a conclusion. Undocumented students at Fresno State are resilient, resourceful, and capable. What they are not is adequately supported by the systems that claim to serve them. The data in this report is not a description of students' failure. It is a map of institutional gap. The recommendations here exist because students named what they need. The question now is whether the institution will listen. And so with that, I want to thank you all, but also want to finish off with a reflection. Myself, the experience I heard felt validating to my own, which further fueled my urge to advocate. And I'll pass it to Jana.
Oh, as for me, throughout this research, I've listened to stories and hardships of one of the most resilient and hardworking students who are facing injustice. And this further motivates me to utilize our research findings to advocate for resources for undocumented students across campus. I'll pass it to Hermione.
This research project was especially meaningful to me as a sociology graduate because it allowed me to apply my academic knowledge directly to supporting my community. Working with undocumented students at Fresno State helped me better understand the challenges they face in meeting basic needs. It also showed me how institutional barriers and limited access to resources can significantly impact their academic success and overall well-being. I'll pass it to Emily.
For me, I chose to work on this project because I want to support my community and help create better opportunities for future students. And through this project, it showed me how research can be used to improve support systems, and it showed me that change can come from understanding people's experiences and finding new ways to address their needs. And I'll pass it to Diego.
I chose this project because I always felt there was a need to highlight the struggle of my community on campus, as well to be able to find the barriers that prevent us from growing, as a way to find ways to break the cycle so that way each student can flourish and grow. And I'll pass it to Gurleen.
Hi. So from this project, I learned so many knowledgeable things since throughout the research it taught me, and I felt the real pain and the experience of the undocumented students myself. So I think through this project, we are able to learn more things and find more ways to help them. So it was a great pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Fresno
Thank you.
State team. Feel free to share some love in the chat for them if you would like. That was a very engaging presentation, and thank you so much for sharing your valuable research and recommendations. We'll now transition to our colleagues at CSU East Bay. I will go ahead and introduce them in 1 second. All right. All right. So our East Bay team will be presenting their project entitled Generations Eating Together Lunch Program. I'd like to introduce Samiya Jackson, Elena Wilson, Tien, Selia Lucero, Pedro Perez, and they were supported by Dr. Gamba. With that, I will hand it over to the team.
Okay, hi guys. I'm Elena, and I'll be sharing with you about our Generations Eating Together or Get Lunch program developed by our teams of student researchers here at CSU East Bay. So I'd like to start by taking a few seconds and ask you all to drop in the chat something you've learned from a generation before you. Just a few seconds. Okay. How to fish. Perfect. Okay, you can go on to the agenda. Okay, I see lots of great things. So my main purpose was to say, even though our experiences are different, many of us learn valuable things from older generations. And so to kind of go forward, we're going to talk about our agenda. We're going to do an overview of the program. We're going to talk about recruitment and partnership establishments, details of the study, results and findings, the team showcase events, and reflection and future directions. I'm seeing still lots and lots of great things coming. Thank you, guys. Okay, so to talk a little bit about our pilot program, so the Get Lunch program. So like I said before, those great things that we're learning from the generation before us. Now, imagine creating more opportunities for these connections to happen intentionally, right? That's the idea behind our pilot program. So our question here is, to what extent does the Get Lunch program improve food security and social connectedness, right? For me, growing up, sharing a meal meant community, it meant belonging, and I'm sure that it means the same for a lot of you guys here. And I believe that this is something that is shared amongst cultures and generations, and our program aims to promote this by bringing college students together with local seniors for a shared meal. So recruitment. So to talk a little bit about recruitment. So for senior centers, the beginning of the project, we sent out lots of emails just trying to find a senior center to partner with. And we ended up being directed to Spectrum, who helped us partner with Hayward Senior Center. And so next, the battle was finding students to come to lunches with us. We canvassed by walking around the campus. We passed out flyers. We put them up in different areas. I remember when Samiya and I first started, we were both pretty anxious and nervous about approaching people and talking about the program. But once we started getting the responses back, we saw that people were genuinely interested, and it really boosted our confidence and got us excited. I was literally in the group chat like every hour after canvassing, kind of like being like, someone check the responses, like how many people have responded so far. And so like we were like really anticipating the numbers once we got out there. And then we work with programs on campus such as the Public Health Club, Project Rebound, and CSU East Bay Food Pantry. So like I mentioned before, so this is our slide where we're going to talk about partnerships. So like I mentioned before, we worked with on-campus clubs like Public Health Club, Project Rebound, and Oregon Campus, who supports formerly incarcerated students, but also with off-campus orgs like Spectrum, who provided the meals with Hayward Area Senior Lunches, and our two senior centers, Hayward Area Senior Living and Ivy Living. Now I'm going to pass it to Pedro.
So moving forward, this is our study design. Again, we used a mixed method design, and our process began with building these partnerships and then starting our lunches. And now after our first 3 lunches, what we then did was send out surveys to the students who have participated. And we did this in order to get a better understanding of what food insecurity or food challenges they may have. Once we did more lunches, though, we then started asking people if they'd be interested in having a semi-structured interview. And if they agreed to the semi-structured interview, we would then send surveys. So in this picture, the following picture we have is of Tien and I at one of our events at the Hayward Area Senior Center. And we had a wonderful conversation with the people at our table about retirement and hot air balloons. And something that I love about our event, and I think that is extremely important, is that it's not just, we're eating together. We're actively building a community between college students and seniors. We're seeing relationships last longer than what anyone initially anticipated. People are asking to be pen pals. People are asking to do word work together, doing special projects like bracelets and etc.
So for our number of participants, so for our student enrollment, we have around 73 students who have enrolled with their emails. And for senior enrollment, we have 11 seniors who have enrolled us with their phone numbers from Hayward Area Hayward Area Senior Center and Ivy Living Apartments. Now, across the entirety of the semester, we've hosted around 7 to 9 lunch events, and some of the participation numbers for our event on campus with the dining commons is around 15 to 20 students per event and 5 to 10 seniors per event. Now, off campus, the numbers are kind of flipped. At hosting at the Hayward Area Senior Center, we have like around 20 to 25 seniors per event and 3 to 10 students per event. Now it's important to note this is a pilot study, so we have like a lot of learning lessons, especially with trying to organize transportation and try to increase the numbers offsite. One of the ways we've been doing this is ride sharing. And we're also looking into exploring ways to continue building our program and continuing it next semester. Now for our screener surveys, we had a total of 27 total responses, and we've given these screeners out to assess food security and social connectedness. And although we've originally opted out of these surveys, we got a lot of important information. So the screener consists of 2 sets of questions, one of which is social isolation, and the next of which is food security questions. Now, one of our biggest findings was we found that around 60% of our respondents are moderately food insecure by skipping meals, stretching meals, and having overall lower meal satisfaction. I think this pie chart illustrates this very well. Question is, do you ever skip meals because of budget? And 16 out of the 27 either said all the time or sometimes. Now for our interview survey, we have around like 10 student responses, and this is like a bit more in depth. So we have demographic questions, food security questions, and social isolation questions. Now, some of our biggest findings here are students are experiencing moderate levels of food insecurity. Around 60 to 70% couldn't afford balanced meals, and students are also experiencing moderate to high levels of social isolation. 50% often feel lonely or socially isolated. And again, the pie charts here illustrate all of this very well.
Okay, so once we collected all our data, we then had to do a thematic analysis of all the material that we had gathered. So if you look on our right-hand side, those are the list of codes that we had created utilizing the Deduce software in order to highlight particular quotes that we felt matched that code. Some of the things or themes that we found were poor social connectedness among students outside the Get Lunch program. Other things that we found that was a common theme was that the reason why people were starting to skip meals or had been skipping meals was because of time constraints due to work schedule or school commitments, as well as other financial issues. Again, on the right side, on the top, we have different codes that were the most prevalent during our study, and the size of the font is equal to how many quotes were. So the more quotes there were that we use that code, the bigger the font will be. More analysis will be needed and done in order to publish our findings.
So sometimes I think that the most meaningful intervention is not dramatic. After decoding on deduce and interview analysis, we found 3 results that show why this simple design of Get Lunch matter. So first, we found that Get Lunch program provide a short-term food support for students. One student said that I don't have a job right now, so I don't really have the money to go eat. And it was so nice opportunity to connect and get lunch. And another student also named the trade-off even more sharply. It was more about picking and choosing what was most important and was more like stretchable food. So what appear here is not just abstract food insecurity, but daily negotiation, like skip lunches, stress grocery, and long day without a reliable meal. Secondly, the meal was not just about setting. I think that is also about mechanism for connection. Uh, so as one of the student put it, like eating together is just so human and is a great form of connection. Not only the student have the physical opportunity for nutrition, but also they learn something else from older generation. Um, can I go to the next slide? And I think that the quote really capture the heart of this slide right here, because the share meal make the conversation so much easier as create a space for warm listenings and intergenerational learning. Next slide. And I think that also students make it very clear that on-campus events are so much easier to attend, while off-campus event can create barrier related to transportation, timing, and cost. And one student summarized this very clear by saying, I can go back and forth, one, because of gas, and second, because of timing. So I think the question is not only whether Get Lunch is meaningful, but under what condition it works best. So I think that all of these factors shape who comes and what kind of connection become possible. Yes, next.
So as my other colleagues have discussed briefly, we did have 2 sites for our lunches. One was on campus at our dining commons, and then the other was at Hayward area off campus where Spectrum was able to provide the food. So through our lunches, we learned that on campus was very convenient for students, obviously, because they're already there. Our school is kind of like a commuter school, so people come and go. But this was great because they're able to participate and get a change of scenery, as well as the seniors, because the seniors actually were able to get transportation from their senior center, which resulted in having like a fair amount of them participate. And everyone kind of gets to get out of their daily routine, which is awesome. But unfortunately, sometimes it can be difficult to get RSVPs from students because even though we stress like, can you please email us back? A lot of them don't. We get more attendees than we planned for, so it's kind of difficult to get a head count to match the ratio for students and seniors to make sure that they're getting the most interaction as possible and coming in with the experience that they expect. So we're still working on that, just trying to get as much headcount as we can before. But for the off-campus at Hayward area, obviously it's easy for the seniors to be there. They've been able to work us into their routine, so it's really convenient for them. And students also get to get out of their community, out of their campus community and come off campus to interact and get out of their routine. Some cons is the main con is mostly that the student transportation, just because it is off campus. It's less than 10 minutes away, but some students have school before or after, and so it makes it a little bit difficult. But thanks to Jessica for the recommendation of doing rideshare, we did do that the last lunch that we did have, and that kind of alleviated some of the barriers for that.
Now we had many opportunities to showcase our work. I'm a part of the Women in Leadership program on our CSU Space campus, and I decided to participate in the project ideathon called the Demo Lab. I presented Get Lunch as a project, and I proposed the idea that Get Lunch could grow into a larger CSU East Bay program. And I prototyped a booking system and a website to help ease communication between participants. Now, we also applied to a couple of grants, and we have using this money to fund our lunches. And I also made a poster that highlights our programming mission, experiences, metrics, impact, and potential plans to continue growing our project. Now we have all presented at the Oscar showcase and showcased our amazing work. Next. And now for a team reflection. So our understanding of student basic needs has evolved greatly as we worked in the Spark program and interacted with the CSU East Bay community. Originally, basic needs were more narrowly defined and mental health was not really considered understanding basic needs, but we discovered basic needs is extremely broad and interconnected, and mental health can be impacted by food security, and food security can also be impacted by mental health. We also discovered students struggle with social connection and food security, and by us hosting free meals, it helps alleviate the stress of thinking about their next meal, and also gives meaningful social connection to not only students, but seniors. Additionally, the understanding of different kinds of research has been broadened, and it's very common to think of research as happening in like a sterile lab. But field work and community projects have a lot more variables, and they provide interesting challenges and discoveries. Overall, we found the work to be very enjoyable, and although the project had its challenges, like every project, it was fulfilling and surprising to see the impact and happiness brought upon the seniors and the students' faces at the events, and the ideas the interviewees had for improving our program. And again, all projects have their challenges, but really reaching out and pushing forward ideas is the best way to make progress. And additionally, communication between team members is very important.
Specifically speaking on Spark, Spark has equipped us with a lot of the tools that will benefit us in the future. For many of us, it was our first time even conducting research, so this was a great way to be introduced to it, especially with the coaching and the trainings that were involved. We also learned how to engage with our campus community as well as the community around us, and how to work as a team to build something that is beneficial to our population. And for future Spark teams, we really invite them to fully invest their time and energy and to experience and learn as much as they can from the opportunity to make a difference for the things that they care about and for the people that they care about around them. For recommendations and opportunities for action regarding basic needs on our campus, when we first started building the program and we were kind of brainstorming, we talked about the stigma of being food insecure. People, there's a lot of shame that comes with it. People don't want to address it when they are struggling. So we discussed building a system where students can visit the food pantry on campus in a group or a pair in order to alleviate that anxiety and fear. Additionally, collaborating with seniors in senior homes that may want to donate to our program so that more students can eat for free, which is actually an idea that we got from a senior. They were like, how can we donate? Because they wanted to help the program out, which is a beautiful thing. And then also, of course, expanding the program by applying for more grants and establishing more relationships for funding to increase our sustainability with this program and helping more people and building and strengthening relationships with campuses and different, I mean, on and off campus organizations with clubs and different senior homes just to get more people involved and to help more people. And lastly, we just want to say a big, big, big thank you to Spark and CEHE for making this all possible. We are so thankful for the opportunity. We also want to thank Oscar, which is a scholarship program on our campus, and all of our other partners that have made this possible for us. And we also would like to invite you for any questions that you may have.
All right. I see a lot of love in the chat. Amazing job, East Bay team. Thank you to both teams for such thoughtful and well-executed presentations. And we'll now open up the floor for any questions that you may have. Feel free to unmute or drop them in the chat, and we will go ahead and discuss them right now.
Yes, I had a question. My name is Trevor. I am with the Cal State Chancellor's Office. I work in DC in our Federal Relations Office. So I'm one of 4 lobbyists on behalf of the system. And I work on basic needs. So like think about SNAP, agriculture, mental health support services, all that sort of stuff. We've done a lot of advocacy around SNAP, but we're kind of expanding out more of it to parenting students, mental health, and housing. So really what we're trying to do right now is to like get the conversation going, right? Get the members, the staff to think about these sorts of things. So my question is if I could somehow get like a copy of some of these things. I want to, if it's okay with you all, to send it out to some of the staff members of the Congress members because, you know, they should absolutely be saying all these amazing things you're doing. And then it also gets them thinking, that helps kind of create that conversation. And then if any of you would, you know, even be interested in joining in on some meetings where you can share your research and kind of talk about possible solutions, they always love to hear from students. So that would be really fantastic. I'm going to drop my email in the chat and then you can just reach out to me separately.
Thank you.
You absolutely will be getting copies. Everyone will have access to all of this information. And we really appreciate you, Trevor, for extending out these amazing students' work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trevor. Oh, Kristen, I see you have a question. Go for it.
Both projects were incredible. I am sitting with so much interconnectedness to both, despite them being 2 varying topics. And one of the things that came up for me that I noticed, and I'm curious perspectives from both teams, is this idea of relying heavily on technology for communication, whether it's inaccessibility or even the fear of surveillance that we're seeing more and more in our current country. I'm curious what y'all as Spark researchers have observed, or maybe what you've learned about what we can start thinking about as researchers moving forward in regards to people are clearly craving connection. That was evident from both of your projects. So what does this future of recruitment and outreach look like? And maybe what are some of the things that you observed as a result?
I can answer for my team. So I feel like as you were saying, like it's such a big issue. It was one of those themes that kept coming up, and it wasn't something that I had initially gone in thinking about for the students. But definitely one of the themes came up was shyness and like awkwardness. And so I think that the biggest help will probably be exposure. And so I'm hoping that in the future, what we could do is partner up with other teachers on campus and then just keep that information going. And then like we were saying before with a buddy system, a lot of times there's one really passionate person in the room. If they can like tag a friend, like they may not even know they're food insecure. I know that when I was going through school, I had no idea that I was food insecure. So I think that doing that and then going to the classrooms will help out a lot.
Go for it, Tien.
Tien.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with what Pedro has said, and just want to add it on, because I totally agree that nowadays, like we are like rely heavily on technology, and I think that like our project, Get Lunch project, really trying to foster that physical, like in real, like in person connection between senior and student, and I think that technology is not a bad thing because it is the way for us to utilize that resources in order to make it more accessible for those interactions to occur. So I think that moving forward, if we can utilize both resources in person but also technology, is gonna help like both project even go further. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Tien.
Thank you both.
Our next question in the chat says, for the East Bay team, we'd like to know what were some of the conversations like with the seniors?
I can.
Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead, Elena. Oh, I was gonna bring up a common theme, which I've heard from a lot of people, is that online dating was a like hot topic. I think as the older generation, like that was not a thing. I remember I was talking to a couple. I asked them, how did you guys meet? And they told us the whole spiel. And then, it just kind of like went into how people are meeting each other nowadays. And so I think a few other of my colleagues and other students have talked about that. Um, but then if anyone else has anything else to share from other students that they've heard, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I can actually share one story where, uh, so like there's one conversation where the senior is very passionate talking about frequency, the law of attraction, meditation, and how it's actually leveraged his life. Like because I mean like he practices meditation very like daily on the daily basics, and he shows us how it's transformed his life very positively. And I think that we learn so much from the older generations, uh not only like the wisdom that they have that they gain through their life. And yeah, I think that is absolutely beautiful experience that I have had during my time to work with my team with Get Lunch. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. The next question is for both teams. How did students and researchers go about the process of the more technical and nitty-gritty aspects of the study design, as well as your data analysis? Go ahead, Samiya.
Okay, so this is like a bit more broad. I don't have any specific sort of recommendations, but um for example, when I was designing the booking system, I relied heavily. I was talking to another faculty mentor over the demo lab, and it's just really just like reaching out and like asking more questions and trying to like try to research a lot and then try to like just ask as many people as you can and get more other people's ideas. And she also lent me her student assistant, so I was working with him on this. But for more towards like data analysis, it's like a little bit of research, but just have to reach out. And if you don't know, how to do something, just you can always ask questions. And I also use a lot of spreadsheets to organize everything, and try to label everything best I can. But it's mostly just kind of feeling around and trying to see like what works and what doesn't, and just reaching out and asking and like saying, okay, should I do it like this or should I do it like that, or what's your opinion on this and that. But in general, just like reach out and research, and just you have to just feel around in it and just see where you can do what you can do with it, and then just always ask questions. It's not the most direct advice, but that's how, I was like the one to do most of the data analysis, at least with the average and the numbers. So that's how I did. Yeah.
And I can follow up a little bit with that answer too. I think that Dr. Gamba did a really good job. Just essentially like checking in with us, especially in the first part of the project. Like we checked in weekly, but then we checked in with him like one on one. And so we had certain like goals we made with him depending on like what we needed to work on. So I feel like that really helped us. I think also just like establishing like clearly what our roles were, like who's going to do what, just defining the expectations early on, really helped. So I would say like that's like those are kind of good practices for like working with undergraduates.
I can weigh in as a mentor, but I want to let Luce go first because I know she wants to say something.
Yeah, I think for us, we did a mixed method design. I think in the beginning we were wanting to do like focus groups, but with the addition of the surveys, I think we really got to see an additional picture of things that also include the data. I really appreciate listening and hearing from the students. Even though I was a student myself, I think it brought a really bigger picture of things along with the data we pulled from the survey. Really, it connected everything, and the process overall and synthesizing it. It really came to be like coming together, and really talking about what students were sharing and what the data means, and going over the process together. I think that's what really helped us. And I'll pass it to Dr. Crowell for more.
Yeah, I want to briefly weigh in on something that because I teach research methods too, and this group just did so amazing, and it was such a new experience for them. Is how important it is to remind students that things don't like fall perfectly into place, and the answers don't just present themselves to you. That there are many phases in the research process that are very messy, and everything's kind of all over the place, and that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. And so that, especially for students first time researching, can really trigger imposter syndrome, like, oh, maybe I'm not good at this. But that's actually what everybody deals with when they do research. And so just kind of embracing that messiness is really important.
All right. Any additional questions?
There was a question from Amber. Amber, do you want to?
Yeah, this is for the East Bay team. I was telling a colleague about y'all's project, and he sent me an article about a program in the UK that matches college grads as roommates with senior citizens so that they have affordable housing and the senior citizens have a young person to keep them company and help them manage things. And so based on what you found and sort of like how the students reacted to the program, and the senior citizens and who were part of the program too. Do you think this is an idea that could work for the CSU to deal with high housing costs and isolation?
I can kind of share my thoughts on that. So I feel like it's something that like it kind of like it's promising because it addresses like two of the problems at once, kind of like our program did, where we were trying to like tackle social connectedness but also food insecurity. So I think it's something that like could exist, but I think like with us we were really like adamant like on awkward conversations and like trying to figure out how we were going to screen that out, and like inappropriate or appropriate conversations to have, like religion and politics and things like that. So I think that's something that comes into like aspects when you're considering a program like that. So I feel like that's something that could exist, but it depends on like the concept, or not more on the concept, but more on like the implementation of the actual program. So like screening of that senior and kind of like an agreement of like when the student would move out, right? Because we are like rotating semesters and things like that, like exit procedures and things like that. So I feel like it's something that could exist, because I think that like in my experience, like with the Get Lunch program, that like seniors do really want that social connection. Like when I was talking to the seniors, I think it's funny like how like they can be quick to bridge the gap. Like I was talking about baking and like how I love to bake, and just like it's just a hobby I like to do. And then one of the seniors was like, "Oh my God, like right now I'm like in the wood shop right now making like mixing bowls, and like come back and like look at my mixing bowls and look at the tablespoons that I'm making and stuff like that." And so they really are like so quick to like want to share and like bridge that gap and have that social connectedness. So I think it's something that could exist, but like I said, it's more about the implementation.
I have some thought on it too. I think it's a really cool idea to address it, and I look forward to following it just to see how it works out in the long run for them. Currently, I actually have a younger sibling who is entering the state college, and one of the things that I have to help him with is moving out into like the dorms and such things. And yeah, the price is very high. I'm curious to though, one of the struggles that we had for him was once the semester ended, where would he go? And he may not be able to go back home. And so I would hope that whatever kind of system that we create, that we'd make sure that the seniors and the students would have access to that home for an extended period of time. Because again, everyone may not have a place to go. And was there something else that I was thinking too? Oh, yeah. So again, from our part, our project again was a pilot study. So we were getting as many students as we could. One of the student groups that I really want to figure out how to get in touch with or figure out how to get them involved are students who are more socially introverted. And yeah, because it was definitely very hard. A lot of the people that we interviewed or that we got to talk to can be flamboyant, and very passionate about being there. And if we're going to have something that is like to help reduce costs of living, I would like to help make sure, like, figure out how to get those kids that are a little bit more shy. If that makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you, Pedro, and thank you everyone for your really thoughtful questions and your feedback. Both teams did an amazing job, and I know they are very relieved that presentations are complete, but the research doesn't stop here. We know that they have plans to continue on this work, and, just once again, we want to give them their flowers because they really facilitated an amazing project life cycle, and they're, to the end stage, and they've done an absolute amazing job. We will be remiss if we did not give a huge shout out to our CBO and faculty mentors. Once again, thank you all for your amazing guidance and your support for students throughout this entire process. They most definitely could not have done it without you all. And with that, I will hand it over to Dr. Crutchfield.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. I echo the gratitude to our mentors. I know as a mentor, it can be really, really hard to let go. And Spark is intentionally created so that students lead, and our mentors bring such experience, and they bring a talent for standing alongside or behind our students so that the students themselves lead this amazing work. And I feel warm being in the shine of these students. You are experts, y'all, and I hope you own that power because we can see your power shine today. I also just want to shout out Kenya and Yadira, who work in front of the scenes and behind the scenes tirelessly to make sure this experience exists for students across California. And I also, for our audience, want to invite you to join the party, y'all. Come be a part of our family. If you want to learn more about the students' work or how it can inform your policies or practice, please engage with us, reach out to us. If you are at an institution, either a CBO or a college or university, we welcome the opportunity to discuss partnership with you. We're looking forward to another set of cohorts in the fall and are welcoming opportunities to expand this opportunity to students. We also welcome, this is, as mentioned in the very beginning, this opportunity is funded right now by R&S Kane and ECMC. We continue to want to sustain this program. So if you are a funder and are interested in supporting this amazing opportunity for students that helps them grow and learn in research and grow and learn in their economic and professional mobility, we welcome your partnership. Thank you all. Kenya.
Thank you, Dr. Crutchfield. All right. As we conclude today's presentations, we invite you all to stay connected with us by following our social media channels to learn about upcoming programs, events, and opportunities. Before we leave, we also invite you to scan the QR code here for a brief survey about your experience today. This is extremely valuable for us to do some reflection and improvement as we go along for the next iteration of the Spark program year 3. All right. And Yadira is going to drop that link in the chat and I will pass it over to Yadira.
All right. Thank you, Kenya. Thank you, Dr. C. Thank you, everybody, for being here today and for making this symposium/webinar a very powerful space. Again, I want to take a moment to honor what each student researcher brought to this work, their brilliance, their dedication, and their courage to explore issues that are deeply personal to them and to our communities. And what we witnessed today was a testament to what becomes possible when students are trusted as the experts that they are. Because when we create the right conditions, they don't just rise to the occasion, they redefine it, right? So we are so grateful to all of our Spark mentors for walking alongside their students every step of the way. A special thank you to Jessica Woolen, whose vision planted the seed that grew into this amazing, wonderful program. And Kenya, there are truly not enough words, girl. You are the engine behind all of this. Your thoughtfulness, your care, enthusiasm really makes the Spark world go round, and none of this happens without you. To our campus communities, our funders and supporters, thank you all for believing in the power of student-led research and for helping build spaces where student voices are truly valued. And so as we close today, we carry this work forward into new collaborations, new partnerships, and new possibilities for what student-led research can achieve. So I'll leave you all with these words from Linda Hill. Leaders can encourage breakthrough ideas not by cultivating followers who can execute, but by building communities that can innovate. Thank you all again so much. Have a wonderful, beautiful day, and hope to see you next year as we celebrate another cohort of Spark student researchers. Thank you all so much.